Hey there, good morning. Welcome to Prog Monster. My name is Murph. Today we're doing a look back at a classic rock album. Um, Not one of the greatest albums of all time for me, but I decided to include it anyways in my look backs just because when it first came out I listened to it quite a bit. It was in my back then. I didn't really have a playlist back then, excuse me, but I had a group of albums I would regularly put on, and this was one of them when it first came out. Now, I have to say, this album, Asia, their first one, was better than I thought. You know, initially I had great expectations for this album because it had a lot of well-known progressive people on the album, including Steve Howe and Jeff Downes from Yes, who I had just gotten into the year before with the Drama album, and then they came out and joined this band, and I wanted to see what. And this actually has some kind of a. It's got a similar feel to the Drama album, but obviously it's a very different album altogether. It very polished, I think, in a lot of ways. Maybe even you might even call it synthetic, but the sounds are very strong on the album. It's just that it's very poppy. I was expecting, with these four guys, they were going to put out a great progressive album. But what I didn't know at the time, because I was only, 16, 17 at the time, that progressive rock was pretty much dead, and that wasn't kind of come back for a while. And at that point, I didn't think it was ever going to come back. But the album itself, while not a progressive album and very poppy, the songs are actually kind of catchy. I got into them. I listened to the album quite a bit when it first came out, and I've really listened to it much since. Every once in a while I feel like listening to it, and I'll put it on, and it actually sounds very good at high volume. You can pick out a lot of detail on it. John Wetton's voice, of course, is very good, as it always has been. Steve Howe, he played guitar on this. It was not as notable as some of the stuff he did with Yes, obviously, but it fit the music very well. I thought Carl Palmer's drumming was good on it. And of course, Jeff Downes was more pronounced on this than you would have thought, considering he wasn't one of the bigger ones of the group that was here. So, anyways, just to talk a little bit about, this album was released March the 8th, 1982, at Marcus Recording Studio in London. And basically, it was in a townhouse, I think that's what they said. Length was about 44 minutes, 45 minutes in that time period, and it was produced by Mike Stone. Okay. Of course, featured on this album as Asia, as the band Asia, the members were Jeff Downes keyboards and vocals, Steve Howe guitar vocals, Carl Palmer drums and percussion, and John Wetton lead vocals and bass. Okay, so let's look a little bit about the album. This is the original copy, not the one I had, but it's pretty similar to the one I had. Basically, it's not much to it. It just shows the album cover, which is kind of decent with the serpent and this metal ball on it. Pretty decent looking. It comes with, I believe, 9 or 10 tracks. 9, I think. 9 tracks. All fairly similar. Not a lot of variation in the song album. There's a few songs that made the radio and were pretty standard on the radio, like Wildest Dreams, and of course the big one, Heat of the Moment. I was actually kind of surprised when I went back to look at their discography. I thought there might be 2 or 3. I knew they put out one called Alpha, but apparently they put out quite a few after that. I don't know much about that stuff. I did listen to Alpha. I didn't like it. It was similar to this, but not as good. And so I didn't listen beyond that. This was just a one-shot deal for me with this group. I like Heat of the Moment. It's a pretty good radio song. Only Time Will Tell. I thought his voice was pretty good. Soul Survivor I like quite a bit. I like the keyboard part on this. One Step Closer, not that great. Wildest Dream, Time Again, another one like that. Wildest Dreams, pretty good song, maybe the best on this album, I think. Sorry, I can't even see what that next one. Oh, Without You, and Here Comes the Feeling. Those two songs, pretty poppy, similar, not really memorable. Not really. The only two songs on this album that kind of memorable are Cutting It Fine, which I haven't mentioned yet, only because I like that little guitar bit that Steve Howe does, and so I remember it for that reason. And Wildest Dreams, and of course Heat of the Moment, because it's played so much. But overall, I don't normally give an album a rating on this particular thing, but I'd say this is like a 3, which is the lowest rating for me. If you don't get at least a 3, you don't get a rating at all. But it did have a bit of an impact on me when I first heard it. I played it a lot. I liked it a lot then. Just hasn't stood up with the test of time. But if you like a poppy kind of album put together by some very solid musicians and very crisp sounding music, this is a good album for that. If you just want something that you don't have to indulge a lot of time in, because sometimes progressive rock and other forms of rock music require you to sit down and really listen to it to get the full effect. You don't need to do that with this. You can put it in the background and it's a good album for me to clean with and stuff like that. So I like it quite a bit for that. So there you have it. Asia's self-titled album, Asia. Nice work here. I believe this is Roger Dean. I don't have any notes on it about that, but I think it's Roger Dean. I think the reason they didn't want to use Roger Dean originally, that's what it was. I remember now. They didn't want to use him originally because they thought it would have too much of a Yes feel to it, and they didn't want that. But Steve Howe and Jeff Downes both pushed to have him do the artwork, and so he got the artwork job for this album, and it's not too bad. Not too bad. A little different than his Yes stuff, but still very good artwork. Anyways, there you have it. Asia's self-titled album. I hope you liked it. If you want me to do more of this kind of content, please like it below, and if you haven't yet, subscribe so that it gives me a chance to do even more stuff. Anyways, this is Prog Monster. You have a good day. Bye.